So I have this glass headstand thing, which you could get at Pure One for I think like $20 or $25. But anyways, it's actually decorative, but I stuck my wig on it right now because I'm going to show you what I'm actually going to do is, or what I did was I stuck a plastic bag on top of this, and then I started to Mod Podge layers of paper on top of that. So this is what it looks like. So inside you can see is a plastic bag, and then all these layers of paper were Mod Podged onto it, and then I cut it off of that glass head. So what I'm going to do is make my own custom headstand, and this is just like the beginning of a good base for it. So I will continue to, well, the next thing is I'm going to stuff the inside with probably plastic bags, because I have a ton of plastic bags from grocery stores, and then I'm going to put some tape on the back of the to patch it in the back. And then I will continue to put a whole bunch more layers, but I'm also going to like mold a good shape, because right now it's kind of like you can't tell too much of where the eyes and the nose, you can barely, but I want to like shape it really well. Alright, so I just threw some masking tape on it and I filled it up with grocery bags, and it's starting to feel a lot heavier, which is great. And I want this to be a long necked mannequin so I can put long hair on it. So I'm going to make a very long neck, and I will show you what that looks like when I get done with forming it. Alright, so in a cup I just mixed about a tablespoon of Mod Podge and maybe a teaspoon of water. You can use whatever consistency you'd like on it, but you just want to make sure it's not too watered down. That way it can dry faster and be a little bit harder. So you want it to be a little bit of a glue texture. So I just brushed it on one side of the paper, put the paper onto the mannequin head, and then seal it with a layer on the outside of it so that it can stick completely to the head. And you just want to keep doing this for a few layers, long enough for you to get a good thickness on your head. Okay, so here is my head, and at the very bottom I grabbed a couple of papers and rolled them up. Then I have this cardboard I'm using. I'm just going to glue it shut together so I can make a base out of the cardboard. You can use anything. I was going to use wood, but I decided to just do what I had that's cheap, and add cardboard, and I'm using the aluminum foil, and I made like a little circular one for the bottom of it, and I'm going to put the square one on top of that just to kind of make it heavier. But basically, just make a base stand for the neck. You want to make it a little bit heavy so that it can support the neck, or it can support the head and the wig. So then I'm just going to slide it right in there, and then I can start putting layers to both of the pieces so it's all stuck together. Now at this point all I need to do is add some more layers to make this super hard, and then I want to extend a little bit off the side so that the bottom base is a little bit wider. And then I'm going to make a harder, smoother and more shaped layer using the Mod Podge and a little bit of water and paper towels just to kind of like fill in the spots that are kind of lumpy and not smooth, and then we'll put a final layer on top. Alright, so at this point I have made like a little triangle type base for it, just putting a couple of sheets of tissue paper together and then folding them just to make it thicker and easier to fill in. So at this point I just put them together and I kind of like glued it right there, and you can use tape as well to make it reinforce and harder and stronger faster. So right here I think I am going to put a little bit of tape and then fill the rest of it in with more tissue paper, and then all together I'm going to grab this piece of tissue paper and then put some of the stuff around it like this so that it's going to be sealed closed, just kind of like wrapping it around the whole base of it. And now I'm going to use this joint compound just going to get like about this much of it, smush it together, and kind of crumble it so it's like a little bit loose. And then I'm going to end up putting it for the face to make it harder. But I'm going to add a little bit of Mod Podge and mix it together so that it's all like gluey, and just smooth it all over the head. And when it gets harder, you can get some of those bumps and stuff off by sanding it off with some sandpaper. But I also want to make a nose, so I put some tissue paper inside this, and I'm just kind of mixing it into the joint compound and Mod Podge to be able to use it as a clay. So I'm going to smooth up all the pieces and see what it is I want to add. So I'm going to add a little bit of a nose and a mouth. So here's the nose I put on there, and I'm just kind of smoothing it over. There's like a little spot right there that I want to fix. So I'm going to add just a little bit more of tissue paper with Mod Podge, and I'm going to fill in the gaps and add it to that little spot so that I can make a better nostril. But yeah, you can just keep doing this with anything. If you wanted to add ears or eyebrows or whatever you want to add, you could just mix with the Mod Podge. And if you don't have joint compound, you don't really need it. You can just use tissue paper and Mod Podge together. Alright, and so now I'm going to clean up my hands. It's really important not to wash your hands with all this joint compound because you can mess up your sink. So just try your best to get it off your fingers and throw it in the trash. Alright, guys?